back. And Jay, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Heck yeah. All right. So there's a lot to talk about. You know, there's your career as a tattoo artist. There's your time in a band and what you're doing with Trench. There's the festival that you're a part of. But let's start with the most simple thing.
Sure.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Calgary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not born, but raised. And yeah, I honestly wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay. So you're a big Calgary fan, right?
I am a big Calgary fan. At least I like it as a city, and I like it as a hub. You know, before COVID, I did quite a bit of traveling. So I really like Calgary as a place to like come back to, you know.
What part of Calgary you grew up in?
I grew up downtown for a little bit. I grew up in like a low income housing building with my mom. She was a single mom. And then when I was around 12, 13, my mom got married and we moved to the suburbs in the northwest of Calgary.
Oh, the northwest. So I grew up in the southeast.
Oh, opposite.
Yeah, man, you were far out from me. I grew up in Willow Park.
Oh, okay, cool. Sweet. I love that.
Yeah, it was.
How long did you live in Calgary for?
From when I was 5 until I was 20.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, a long time. I moved out here to go out to Vancouver, going to university, and ended up staying. So there's a ton of stuff that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about your career as a tattoo artist. I want to talk to you about the fest that you're a part of doing, just like what it's like building a business and building that kind of thing in Calgary, taking on that kind of role. But I want to start with music and kind of what was your gateway into that. I know you play in a band called Trench that you've got a new record coming out, right?
We do. Yeah, not exactly sure on the date, but it will come out on the first half of this year for sure.
Heck yeah. Okay, so before we get to Trench, how did you get into punk?
Yeah, so basically I found punk through a friend's older brother. He gave me a CD that had like over 100 songs on it. First half of the CD was more metal stuff, stuff that I still like to this day, like Slipknot and Fear Factory and things like that. The second half of the CD was more punk orientated, lots of things like The Unseen and Dead Kennedys and Rancid, and that's basically how I found out what punk even was. I was brought up pretty sheltered from that kind of stuff, so this was really exciting to me when I saw this stuff, and yeah, that's how I found punk. Kind of never looked back from that genre. So.
Right, important question, man. Critical question. Were you first into one part of the CD more than another part of the CD, or were you like an equal opportunist across the whole CD?
I think I was so inebriated by these things that I've never heard before that I was kind of into all of it all at once. I think I definitely did prefer the heavier stuff off the bat, but I don't know. Once I started Googling pictures of the bands and stuff when I got home, I was really, really specifically, I really liked the look of the guys in Rancid. I would see Tim Armstrong and Lars Fredriksson covered in tattoos, and I don't know, it was just so fascinating to me that I never really stopped admiring that kind of stuff. So,
was there something about the sound or the lyrics or the look that spoke to how you were feeling about your current circumstances at all?
Yeah. Well, there was no lyric page or anything like that on a burnt CD. So, I kind of had to guess for myself what was kind of going on. But yeah, I was an angsty teenager. So hearing songs about rebellion and hearing songs about, quote unquote, sticking it to the man and stuff, I really liked that. It was so opposite of what I knew. So, and it was definitely feelings that I had. So it was pretty special.
That's cool. So it gave kind of like a flag for the feelings that you already had going on.
Totally. 100%.
So where did you go from getting into it to actually building up your own band and being a part of a scene?
Oh man, yeah. I wasn't part of anything really. I was pretty sheltered, and I started going to a fully public school in grade 9, and I actually met my best friend Bryce. He plays in Trench now, but Bryce basically picked me out of a crowd on the first day of grade 9 because I was wearing some kind of shirt. I can't remember what exactly the shirt was, but we were both basically dressed the same. So we were, just immediately interested in each other and what's going on. So he eventually ended up inviting me to his house to play some video games, and he ended up showing me what hardcore was. He showed me Madball and Terror and Gorilla Biscuits and all these bands that I still like to this day. And he would show me like some metalcore stuff that I had no idea that thing even existed. So I really have to thank Bryce for getting me into hardcore. He took me to my first show, like all that kind of stuff. So, and now I play in a band with him, 15 years later.
Yeah. So how did the band start though?
The band started, I think the band started when I was 22, and I'd taken a break from playing music just because I wanted to focus on tattooing. I played in a couple previous bands before Trench. But Bryce was going through some really tough life shit. His mom had just passed away, and he needed a distraction from life, and he really wanted to start a really heavy band again and kind of get into that. So he asked me if I wanted to sing in it, and I said of course. And he literally sent the Chans, the two other people that started the band with us, a message on Facebook, and we just kind of started jamming. There was really no other reason other than we needed a distraction from the shitty things that were happening.
So from like being involved in the punk scene, is that how you found tattoo culture?
100%. Yeah. Like I said before, maybe, like the minute I saw Tim Armstrong with a big spider web tattooed on his head, I was like, I kind of want to look like that one day. As weird as that is, even seeing like Lars Fredriksson with like the SUNX across his forehead, I was like, that looks so cool. Like I just want to be part of that. So yeah, it was definitely from punk rock that I found tattooing and decided that that's what I ultimately wanted to do.
Yeah. It's kind of a like either like an attraction moment, like I'm going to be drawn to that, or like I'm getting the hell out of this. That's not for me kind of thing.
100%. Yeah. It's either you're in or out, I think.
Okay, cool. So when did you actually start getting involved in the culture? Like I'd imagine it all started with getting tattooed for the first time.
Actually, it didn't. Funny enough, I started working in a shop when I was super young. I was 17 years old, so I couldn't even get a tattoo yet. I did have a tattoo that was done by like a homie in a basement, but nothing professional. But yeah, I was just so into it. I knew that that's like kind of the path that I wanted to go down. So yeah, I applied at a few tattoo shops in my neighborhood and just ended up landing a job like cleaning up and just being counter guy when I was like 17 years old. So didn't even get a tattoo yet.
What shop was it?
It was called Body Inc. It was in Kensington.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
All right. So when you went in and you were like, hey, I want to work here, was it just you want to be a part of the culture? Or were you like, I want to become a tattoo artist and I want to be around it?
Yeah, it was pretty direct. Like I brought my drawings and everything, and I was like, I want to learn how to tattoo. I don't want to go to high school anymore. I don't want to go to school. This is what I want to do. And unfortunately, it was obviously didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to happen. I ended up just working the counter for a couple of years before I even touched anything artistic. I was actually even a piercer. They made me do some piercings to like kind of get my legs, in the tattoo shop. So definitely didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but that's kind of the way it works.
All right, wait a second, man. I got to unpack a couple of things. So first, did you quit high school to work at the tattoo shop?
I didn't pass high school. So technically I didn't quit, but I spent more time at the shop than I did in school. So
Okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, dude, that's a hard start. You're like, high school? No, thanks. I'm going to work at the tattoo shop instead. But the next part that I got to know is, how do you make someone do piercing? That does not sound... If I was going to go get a piercing, I wouldn't be like, oh, here's the guy they made do piercing.
Oh, dude. Yeah, you're not wrong at all. Like having a 17-year-old do your piercings, like is so fucking silly, like looking back on it. But yeah, I don't know. They just ended up training me to do that so that I could learn. I was a pretty awkward kid, not very good at talking and stuff. So they were like, it is part of tattooing to be good at talking to people. So I think one of the things that they wanted me to do is to learn how to deal with people in pain and to deal with this kind of culture. So it was, I don't know. It was good looking back on it. To be honest, it's a pretty gross job and I would never want to do it again, but yeah, it definitely taught me. So,
well, okay. This is what I love about that though. It's like, some people would be like, oh, it was a real trial by fire. Hey man, sticking like giant needles into people's bodies so they can get like pieces of metal stuck in there is a true trial by fire. So you must have wanted to be a tattoo artist real bad if you were willing to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to be part of the community and part of the culture. I was so fascinated. I didn't even really care. I was so stoked to work at a tattoo shop. My job before that was working at Little Caesars, you know. So I was like, I was super super stoked to even just be there. So, and I knew eventually it would lead to tattooing, like if I put in the work. So,
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about crazy bread at this point?
I mean, I'm a vegan guy now, so I can't eat the crazy bread, but I sure would love to crush some. No questions asked.
It's just like, what is wrong with us? It's so good, but it's so
Yeah.
bad. It's got to be terrible for you.
Oh, there's no way it's good for you. It's literally just dough and oil.
But man, that sounds pretty good right now. All right. So how did you transition into tattooing? Were you still at the same shop when you started tattooing?
I was at the same shop. Yeah, basically just one day I was at the shop and my boss was like, I think she was just, I would always draw there, you know, whether I was good at it or not. And I was drawing there and she was like, okay, I think it's time for you to learn how to tattoo. Like, save up some money and buy some machines and we'll see what's up. And that's literally it. That's literally how it happened. She was just like, okay, you put in your time, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. So how long did you apprentice tattooing before you went out on your own and started doing, at least like within that shop, started actually tattooing people?
Yeah, it was probably a good year of learning just how to put things together and like technical stuff. But I'd already been working at the shop for like 2 years before that. So technically I worked there for 3 years, and then one of the years was my apprenticeship.
So when you got the green light to go in and start learning how to tattoo, was there any fear, or were you all just like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this, like leap of faith?
Definitely lots of fear, for sure. Definitely, like I'm not like a normally anxious person. Like I don't really suffer from anxiety, but that was definitely the most anxiety I've ever had, for sure. Like especially tattooing someone I didn't know. I had lots of friends that like wanted to come get tattooed, so I had lots of practice. But the minute you're switching over to somebody you didn't know or somebody that was paying, it's like a whole different ball game. So yeah, definitely lots of anxiety, very nervous.
Well, how did you push through that?
I think it was just something that you know, you go outside the shop and like give yourself a few minutes and be like, okay, I got to go do this. I got to do a good job. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been like kind of a rule in tattooing. If you do a good job, they're going to tell 10 of their friends. If you do a bad job, they're going to tell like 100 of their friends. So it's like, I wanted to do a good job, so I got some repeating customers, or maybe somebody else would want to come get a tattoo. So you kind of just have to suck it up and be like, I got to do a good job here, whether it takes hours or 10 minutes or whatever. Just got to put 100% into it.
So there's the technical side, like learning how to properly tattoo, draw, all of that. But then there's the soft skill side, like talking to people, dealing with people when they're in pain. So how long did it take you to get good at that side of it?
Oh yeah, probably a long time. I'm still even working on it. I sometimes am like a little bit socially awkward, especially 12 years ago when I was a teenager learning how to tattoo. But yeah, I don't know. Dealing with people, I think the best way to deal with somebody is just to be overly nice and really understanding about what they are trying to get from you, and kind of just let them lead the way when it comes to what they want to get tattoo wise. A good compromise, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, are you naturally like that? Like, are you naturally like accommodating and kind of like listening to people and kind of let them guide it? Or is that something you had to learn?
It's definitely something you have to learn. I think when people start tattooing, they're pretty set on just doing their own thing, like my way or the highway kind of thing. Whereas now I try to, do a little bit of a mix of both, where I take my clients' ideas and their wants and concerns, and then I take the things that I know and kind of put them together to make something that we both really like. So I think that's the ultimate strategy when it comes to having like a consultation with somebody.
Mm-hmm. So when you were first starting, and actually like tattooing, now you're like out there. I really like how you said it. It's like you do a good job, 10 people will tell other people. You do a bad job, they'll tell 100 people. How did you deal with criticism?
Yeah. Criticism was not my strong suit when I first started tattooing. Really resistant to like people's ideas, like kind of thought I knew what was up. But now I have learned that criticism is like maybe the best tool you can have as somebody that like makes art in any way, music or tattooing or anything. The criticism is something that I really take to heart. And I'll even like, if somebody says even the smallest thing, I'll make mental note of it and try to tweak that for next time. And those are the things that make you better. Because if you just stay the same way and do the things that you want to do and don't take anybody else's input, you're gonna stay stagnant, man.
Yeah. But how did you learn to get good at that?
Just by getting a lot of criticism. Tattooers are not shy when it comes to telling you like certain things suck, or like you totally need to redo that, or tell you that you need to send your client home because your drawing sucks. Like, tattooers are pretty ruthless when it comes to that stuff. So it's kind of just something I got used to.
Yeah. So just over time, you kind of like learn to move with it, get better with it.
100%.
Through that process, though, what'd you learn about yourself?
Man, that's a good question. Yeah. Through the process, I learned that I was not patient. So I learned that I needed to install a bit of patience in myself, and try to realize that, Rome isn't built in a day. You're not going to be good at something right away. It takes a lot of time and practice to get good at drawing, and it takes even more practice to get good at tattooing. So I learned that I was an impatient person, but I've learned to kind of be more patient with myself now.
Okay, cool. And has that ability to become more patient, has that nestled solely in your business and in your process as a tattoo artist, or has it gone across other places in your life?
Oh, it's definitely gone across other places for sure. Probably every place. Now realizing when I first started tattooing, I thought I'd be good to go in a couple of years, try to master it as quickly as I could. And now I'm 12 years into tattooing, and I realize that I don't even know if that's going to be possible. There's always stuff to learn, and there's never really like an ending road with that. So I kind of apply that stuff to the rest of my life even with trench. Like, I know it's going to take a really long time to get any sort of success with that. Even with Wild Rose Hardcore Fest, like, looking at the bigger picture is better than looking at the smaller picture. When I do things like trench or Wild Rose, I look at like the 10-year picture, not the 1-year picture.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's really the lesson that I've taken from tattooing and applied it to the rest of the things that I do.
I love that. So how do you keep developing your practice though? So like, I'll give you an example from myself. So I was a therapist for about a decade before I went into coaching, into what I do now.
Okay.
And, I knew how to be a therapist, and I feel I was like a relatively good therapist. And then when I got into coaching, I was like, oh, like, let's see what I can apply from that into here. But I was so freaked out by being in the corporate world that I was like, I wasn't really me. I was just like kind of this like robotic, like I just filling what I thought was the role that I was supposed to fill. Especially I worked in a company that was like, it was a really shitty experience working there. And the more that I acclimatized myself to it, the more I was able to bring in like who I actually am. I had less fear, I had less anxiety. I was able to bring in more stuff from being a therapist, but I actually started bringing in more stuff about just being a guy who grew up in punk, a guy who's like heavily tattooed, all of that. And I got to a point where I could start my own company. And when I started my own company, I was like, okay, I'm set. Like, I know how to be a coach. I know how to like build a business. And then I realized that I don't know shit about shit. I was like, I'm like so much more I need to learn about being a business person. So much more, like unbelievably so much more. I have no idea how to run a business. I have no idea how to coach at like a big level. I have no idea how to like train other coaches. I'd say like the first 2 years of running Cadence was like the scariest, like jump off the deep end, and like every single day you're learning stuff while also like, it's like building the engine while also driving the car. It was like terrifying. Now I'm ahead of it, but I have this deep need to constantly be getting better and better and better. And I actually have a practice of how I do that now, but I didn't know how to do it before. So how do you keep getting better? Like, what is that you have in place to help pushing you as like an artist or a musician or someone who does it fast?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, the biggest like inspiration to keep getting better is that I have a need to, get to certain levels, right? So I'll push myself to the next level. Like right now, I recently moved shops from my old shop. I was there for 7 years. I moved to a new shop now just to kind of get myself more uncomfortable again. I was super comfortable where I was before, not really pushing myself. And now I find the best way to push yourself as a tattooer is to be around other people that are also trying to push the envelope a little bit. Not saying the people at my last shop weren't trying to push the envelope, but it's trying to be around people that are like kind of doing that more or less every day. And so that's kind of what I've surrounded myself with now. And I think that's the best way as a tattooer to kind of push yourself to the next level, because being 12 years in, I'm pretty comfortable. I have formulas for things, and maybe I wouldn't try certain things like I would before. And yeah, I think now being around new people, that's kind of what's pushing me to go to the next level with tattooing.
You know, I find myself kind of saying this a lot on the podcast, but something that I try and practice myself, and part of my discipline of becoming a better coach, a better business leader, a better, like whatever I'm doing, is I surround myself with people that are better than me at it. And, or people that I look up to, or that I find like inspirational. I don't mean like inspirational, like, like, you know, Gandhi inspirational, but someone where I'm like, damn, like that's cool. I wish I could do it like that. And the discipline for me is whatever you want to be really successful at or really good at, find other people who are already successful, even if they're like 2 steps more successful than you, or 10 steps or 20 steps. And when I say successful, I don't mean like monetary. I mean just like they're better at that thing that you're trying to learn, because then you can observe their practice. You see how they move. You can ask them questions, and even just being around that energy can be like really beneficial.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I literally think the move is to surround yourself with people who do what you do, but do it 10 times, 20 times, 100 times better than you, because there's always stuff to learn. There's always stuff you're going to pick up. And yeah, I think, yeah, the best way to advance is to basically never put a cap on it. Like, don't get too comfortable, you know?
Yeah. Like when I was kind of in a position when I was younger, where like the bands that I was playing in would be like a headlining band, and we were bringing on tour, people on tour with us. I'd always want to bring people on tour who were like an incredible live band, so that like when they played, our goal was to like match or exceed what they just did. I never wanted to tour with a band that's like, oh yeah, like, you know, we're going to blow them off stage every night, because like that's kind of like a lame way to like do a tour. I want to tour with people that I think are cool, like awesome, great band, blah, blah, blah. But I want someone that makes me a little bit uncomfortable about how good they are. I'm like, damn, I got to like really bring it tonight.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I think like quote unquote friendly competition is like extremely healthy when it comes to like making any type of art. It's exactly what you're saying. I'll see someone at my shop now, or even at my shop that I just left, like someone will do like a bodysuit tattoo on somebody, and I'll look at it and be like, wow, like that is so incredible. Like I want to do that. Or it's exactly like what you're saying. Like if you're playing a show and the band before you absolutely fucking kills it, you're going to have to go and outdo them maybe a little bit, or you could try, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I think friendly competition is like super underrated when it comes to making art. It's a really good thing.
Well, I was talking about this on an earlier podcast with Chris from Bridge 9. The idea of being like toxically competitive versus like healthy competition.
Yeah.
And like, because I've kind of walked in both places before. I've been like toxically competitive, where it's like I've got something that I worked hard to get, like I've achieved something where I've worked hard to get it, and I don't want to lose it, or I'm afraid to lose it, and I'm like, nah, you know, and like totally. It's a place of anxiety, fear, and all that. Or I've been like, I want to succeed at something, or I want something to happen, and like, you know, I perceive someone's like kind of gatekeeping me or pushing me down, when in reality I'm just like, I'm terrified and I'm maybe jealous. So I've been toxically competitive before, and I see this in like the corporate world, or in just in the world in general all the time. Like people who are like slamming other people because they have what they don't have, or they've done what they haven't done, or what they wish they could do. So that's not good. And a lot of times where I hear people talk about competition, it's like they've got this cartoonish vision that if you're competitive, then you're that. Flip it. Like healthy competition for me is like, I want to be around people who are so good that I'm like, damn, like I gotta really like, I want to do that as well or better than you. Like I want to play with a band who I'm like, if I don't bring 100%, they will have blown us off the stage. I have to be better. Like I have to be better than I would have been otherwise. Or like if I'm playing before another band, I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure that I want to make sure the headlining band wants to watch us, like that they're interested in watching us because they think we're a good band, because we've got a lot of energy, all that. But also they're like, they want to see like, damn, we're going to have to like really bring it. Because for me, that's like part of the enjoyment of doing things, is that like exhilaration of being around people who are really good at what they're doing.
100%. I literally thrive the same way. If I see somebody absolutely killing it, I'll fucking analyze it and I'll take mental note and I'll be like, okay, these are the things that I need to do. And then maybe I'll also analyze to be like, oh, maybe I can do this better than that guy this certain way because I've learned that skill or whatever. It is kind of one of those things that I also look for that too. I'm not really into being around people who aren't pushing the envelope. So, and that's not in like a cocky way. That's literally just from an art standpoint. Like I kind of just need that to accelerate my own things.
Yeah, dude. And it's interesting. And what you just did there too, it's like people kind of feel like they got to give this caveat. And I understand like why we do it, because we don't look like arrogant or like pricks or jerks or whatever it is. I totally get it. And competition's not a bad thing. The world thrives on competition. The seed, if you plant a seed in the ground, it's in competition with the soil. It's trying to like push out of the soil. It's like conflict, competition being those things. They don't have to be negative. They don't have to be toxic. If anything, it brings the best out of you as long as you're able to mentally stay out of that toxic space. I've been successful at staying out of it largely, especially now in my life. But when I was younger, I've definitely like kind of dipped a toe and even got really drenched in that kind of approach.
Yeah.
But the other thing is like sometimes you deal with people who are toxically competitive and they're shitty, but you can still like, you can choose to not deal with people like that, but that's like, it's not realistic to do that. Like you're very often going to cross paths with some people or a lot of people who are toxically competitive, especially if you're like dedicated to a type of practice, like playing music or tattooing or whatever it is. And that's where I want to go back to that criticism thing if we can for a sec.
Yeah.
I like your dedication to listening to criticism. Can I give you a filter that I like to look at things through?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
100% at all times, believe your own shit. Always believe your own shit. And be equally willing to be told you're full of shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But the being told you're full of shit, like let's say 1,000 people listen to a song that you've played. Yeah, every single one of those people is going to have an opinion, and a percentage of them are going to be like, this is perfect, best song I ever heard, your band changed my life, da-da-da, whatever. And then some are going to be like neutral, and some are going to be like, this sucks, your band is lame. And I'm totally willing to hear all that. But the feedback the negative feedback I'll interact with, I'm picky about. Not that I'll dismiss other people, but it's like maybe I'll spend 30 seconds on one piece of feedback and 3 hours on another piece of feedback. And a lot of it has to do with like, does this person have sufficient expertise in what they're talking about to give me feedback that's going to help me grow? And also, is that feedback coming from a good place? So for example, if another musician's like, and they're like a practice musician's like, hey man, your band is not good. And I'm going to tell you why. I'd be like, ugh, but okay, tell me more. I want to hear about it. But if someone's like, oh, you're like a corny straight edge band, you're just like ripping off Uniform Choice, and they're also like a accomplished musician, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. We are ripping off Uniform Choice. And I don't know, we might suck, but like, I don't know, you're kind of coming at me at like a weird way about it. It's not that I wouldn't listen to them, but I would put a little bit less weight on it rather than some being like, your band's not good, and let me tell you why. Or if this is what your band needs to work on, I'd be like, that hurts. I don't like hearing it, but tell me more. I want to hear all about it.
100%. Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. If somebody gives me some criticism that has no idea what they're talking about, I'm pretty quick to write it off. You know, if someone that I really look up to gives me some criticism, I'll study it. I'll study the shit out of it. Like that makes total sense to me. I don't know, man. This whole thing about criticism, and I'm just like not afraid to, I guess, fail, you know, like I'm not afraid to like, or even embarrass myself. Like I don't really care about that kind of stuff. It's kind of one of those things that, like you were saying, you need to believe your own stuff. And I do. And I think that it's kind of, people often construed like confidence for like egotism or something like that. And that's really not the case. It's just, I've had lots of experience doing art. So when I try something new, it's literally just to try it. It's not really for anybody else. It's not like for people to comment on. And a lot of the time I find when people say something sucks and they like, let's say they play another band or something, they're trying to like, quote unquote, like gatekeep because they're literally scared of the competition. You know, they're scared that I'm going to do better than them or that someone else is going to do better than them. So gatekeeping is lame in that aspect, because being scared of the competition is something that will make you not as good.
Totally, man. And also like having been a guy that's spent a lot of time doing stuff that would be more like put stuff out in front of people, whether it's like coaching or videos for the company or podcasts or music or whatever, like you're going to have people, not you, but people in general, it's like, you're corny or you're this or you're that, or you're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, I would love to live in a world where like I hit just that right thing and I just like got right through the keyhole and I hit it all, but that's just not who I am. I'm like another human being. I'm messy. I'm flawed. I'm insecure. I'm like confident. And the thing that I try and walk, and I think you're hitting on, but I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to try and like form it up a little bit.
Yeah. Do your thing, man.
Difference between confidence and arrogance. So like both of them come from the ego, and having an ego is not a bad thing. All human beings have an ego, but like confidence is like a giving thing. Like you're giving yourself permission to take leaps. Like I'm going to like put ink into someone's skin, or I'm going to put music and put it out in the world, or I'm going to do a festival, or I'm going to do a podcast. You're giving yourself something. You're giving other people. You're trusting them. You're listening to them. You're giving them energy. You're helping them be confident. Confidence is a giving thing. Arrogance is a taking thing. It comes from a place of insecurity, fear. It's an avoidance. Confidence is achievement-based. Arrogance is avoidance-based. And like people can be confident in some things and arrogant in some other things. People can be predominantly confident and go through periods of arrogance. People can be predominantly arrogant and go through periods of confidence. It's not like a simple thing, but I'd say that like anything that's like an endeavor where you're daring to put something in front of people, it's either going to come from a place that's predominantly confident or a place where it's predominantly arrogant. It's everyone's duty as an individual to figure out where they're coming from and like steer themselves in the right direction.
100%. That's very well said.
Thanks, man. Okay, so with that in mind, what does it mean to lead someone to getting a tattoo? Like, I am sure you get people come in with like pretty wild ideas, and you have to like help get them there while also giving them a good experience.
Yeah, totally. Basically, my strategy for that, like if someone has a consult with me and we've never met before, I kind of let them take the lead on the conversation. I just like want to know everything that they want. I want to know like what they want to look like. I want to know like what their future plans are for other tattoos. I basically try to take everything into consideration before I even speak or like tell them what's up, you know, because sometimes you're totally right. Like they will have an idea that totally won't work at all. My other strategy basically for leading people to get a good tattoo is to tell them that it's both of us working on this. It's not just what they want. It is part of me as well. So if they're coming to me, it's one of those things that I'm like, we're compromising a little bit because I have lots of experience in this. And at the end of the day, I'm really trying to make them aesthetically look good. So if they want to put their tattoo somewhere where it's not aesthetically going to look good, I'm going to tell them no, you know? So I don't know. It's just one of those things that it needs to be a good balance because there are lots of things that people don't realize when they come in, like placement or size, or if they want like a weird color or something, sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, just lots of hand holding and yeah, a lot of just like getting the point across that this is a 2-person effort, not just for them.
So when you're in a tattoo shop, what's the right combination of things that need to happen to make a shop great? Like to make a shop functional, to have like a proper culture? Like what really needs to be in place there?
Man, honestly, as like cheesy as it sounds, it's kind of all about the vibe, to be honest. Like if someone comes into a shop and no one talks to them, or if no one even like looks at them and everyone's pretty cold, like they're going to have a bad time. So I personally like tattoo shops where people are friendly and where people are like understanding about what's going on, like understanding that people are in pain, understanding that there's like naked people around. So you have to be respectful with like where your eyes are at and shit. Like, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into like a good like vibe tattoo shop, but yeah, without putting too many words to it, I think the vibe is the most important.
Well, it's interesting. So like, the thing that's real unique about like like having a tattoo, like quote unquote workplace is like, you know, some places are painful to work at because like, you know, the culture sucks and like, you know, whatever, like it's just not a good company to work at or whatever. But the tattoo world actually has pain involved in it. Like you're actually in a space where people are literally going through pain. And I like something you said that I didn't even really think about is like people are going to have various levels of being like exposed physically in front of groups of people. It's got to be hard to keep the right kind of vibe in a tattoo shop. You as a professional here, what do you bring to the game to help that happen?
Yeah, I just try to be as understanding and as like consensual as I can be. I literally ask every question I can before we start. I'm like, even before we're about to start the tattoo, I'm like, okay, are you ready? I'm gonna start touching you now, and people are like, yes, okay. So there's a lot about consent. There's a lot about respect, and then I don't know. There are lots of tattooers that aren't very tattooed. So if they're tattooing somebody in a spot where they've never experienced a tattoo, it's kind of one of those things that they can't really understand where the client's at. Myself, I have most of my body tattooed, so I do kind of understand what all of my clients are going through when I'm tattooing them. So I think maybe the overall answer to this question is just to be like super understanding and super kind to your client.
Yeah. And, since I've been getting tattooed since I guess I started getting tattooed in the late 90s is probably when I started getting tattooed. And
yeah, so a little bit rougher.
well, actually, like my experience was largely like super cool. Like I don't have one of those, like I got tattooed by like a biker in like the back room. It was not that at all. And I think that was like around when I think where tattoos started to become a little bit more like socially acceptable. And like, I had largely good experiences, but I think like leading up to that, the decades beforehand, totally different experience. And I, especially within the past 10 years, it seems like the industry has gone through like a real change in terms of like how artists interact with people, and also how our artists interact within a shop, and a lot of like kind of like Me Too moments around tattooing. So if you were to speak to it, like what do you think's changed and what do you think needs to keep changing?
Yeah, well, the things that have changed, at least I'd like to think that things have changed. Yeah, there's just a lot more respect for the client. And that's really like what it should be about. Like personally in my life, like I've had lots of experiences where I've had a bad experience getting tattooed where my tattooer was, really cold to me or an asshole, or maybe they just didn't want to talk to me because I was a young tattooer. They didn't want to like give me any information or whatever. So that's changed a lot. People seem to be more open with like information because realistically it's all out there anyways. So you might as well give into that. Yeah, I haven't had any experiences where people have taken advantage of me or anything like that, but that is something that is definitely super prevalent in tattooing. Just because you're coming into a place to trust somebody, really, like you're coming in there with the ideal that this person is trustworthy, they're going to do a good job and treat me well, and sometimes that's just not the case. There are people out there that will definitely take advantage of nice people, so it's good to be wary of that. So that's something that needs to keep changing, is people need to keep talking about their experiences in tattoo shops, because they shouldn't be kept secret. You're going to get a permanent piece of art from somebody, you should probably find out who they are.
Something that I did observe when I was younger was tattooing seemed to be, at least at that time, and of course I don't know 100% of all areas and shops and everything, but the little areas that I was getting tattooed in, it seemed to be predominantly men doing tattoos and predominantly white men doing tattoos, and also predominantly like white people getting tattoos. Now, again, I don't want to speak for all North America or all of Canada or all of Alberta or BC, which is predominantly where I've been tattooed, but that was my experience of it. It does seem that from a gender perspective, that it is becoming much, much more common to have women within the tattooing industry. There's LGBTQ representation, it's much stronger, and that there also seems to be like a higher level of diversity. But as being someone who's in the industry, is that like, am I, what I was saying like correct? Is that proper? Like, is those things happening, or is there still a lot of work to do?
Yeah, you're totally correct. Yeah, when I first started tattooing, basically every person that tattooed was like a sketchy white dude, So you're not wrong at all. It's one of those things that like I've observed over the years, that it has become more acceptable and it has become more more diversified. I worked in a shop that had an entirely female staff, and now I work with all men. And yeah, I've tattooed every type of person under the sun in the last couple of years, whereas you're totally right. When I first started tattooing, it was predominantly white people getting tattooed. Yeah, it is definitely become more diversified over the years, which is something that I personally love. I don't see why tattooing wouldn't be diversified. It's an extremely diverse way to make art, so that makes sense to me. But yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot better in that way, in my opinion.
All right, I'm going to ask you a pretty specific question. There's certainly not a right or wrong here, but like,
Sure.
you're involved in a lot of like opt-in communities. Like I opt into playing in punk and hardcore, right? I opt into being vegan. I opt into being tattooed. Well, I'm tattooed now, so I don't have any other choice. But like I opted into that. In a culture where you can kind of opt into it, you're not just a part of it just because you live somewhere or because you were born into it or whatever. And so like opt-in cultures, especially if you're choosing to be like an artist within an industry, what level of responsibility does someone have to make that like safe and approachable for a large audience? What level of responsibility do you feel that not just you, but anyone has to put effort into making the industry approachable by people, either to be a tattooer or to get tattooed? Like, is it your responsibility to do that?
100% it is my responsibility to do that, for sure. Just to make it known that you accept all types of people in your shop. I think it literally is your responsibility. I'll even see people making, flash sheets now, and instead of on, stark white paper, they're doing it on, different types of skin color instead, to get that, so like a black person can see a piece of flash that has like their skin tone as opposed to like a white person's skin tone. And so they can see what the tattoo will look like on their skin. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely is our responsibility to put that stuff out there. Every type of person can come get tattooed if they want, because it is for everybody.
Dude, you just blew my mind. Like, it's so like weird. Like, it's weird when you grow up as like a white person, like, and like you're involved in tattoo culture and like, like some of the stuff you're talking about, of course, I've like heard or thought about, but I've never thought about like, oh yeah, I guess like the white background. Like I've always just thought of it as like, oh, it's just so that it pops. It's like, yeah, but if I wasn't a white person, like that's like, you just blew my mind with that. And it's little stuff like that like, I mean, there's probably all sorts of stuff that's a game changer, but like that sounds like to me, I'm like, damn, that's cool that someone even thought to do that. And also, damn, that seems so obvious. Like, why weren't we doing that? Why weren't people doing that before?
It does seem like incredibly obvious, which is why it's actually like pretty sad that no one thought about this until a couple of years ago. I'm going to shout out the shop too, Hemlock Tattoo. I'm not sure exactly who at Hemlock Tattoo is doing these multicolored flash sheets, but it's like a genius idea, and it really does, I'm sure, get people to come to your shop that are not white.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I just think that's such a cool, like, I literally, as you said it, I was like, oh God, it's like so simple, but like so important and cool.
It's so simple and it's so inclusive, and it is one of those things that we do. It is our responsibility, for sure.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. Well, let's talk about Wild Rose.
Sure.
All right. So for those who don't know, can you tell the audience about Wild Rose, what it is and how it started?
Yeah, Wild Rose is a hardcore punk metal fest that happens in Calgary every year up until the last couple of years. But the fest was founded by our friend Evan Shaw. He passed away a couple of years ago, so he's no longer around to take the reins on the fest, and so that's kind of why we're keeping it alive. But yeah, the fest was founded, I think in 2016 or 17. It's been called a plethora of different names, but now it's known as Wild Rose Hardcore Fest.
So again, growing up in Calgary and growing up in the punk scene there, in my mind, it's like unimaginable that there would be like a punk and a hardcore like fest there. And like the one that got canceled that the Change was supposed to play, it like had like Madball on it. And I was like, this is so crazy for me to think about it, because when I was a little kid and like going to the record store, like I'm not going to bore you with the like before the internet conversation.
No,
I won't do that, but I'll just say like it was unimaginable for me to think that like big headlining North American acts would be like that. Calgary could be a destination for that kind of stuff. And I'm so stoked on it. I'm so stoked that it exists. So what's the status of the fest now?
The status of the fest now is basically we're trying to navigate the COVID situation. Like it's even hard for us to book the bands in advance right now, just because we don't even know. We have to give them, we have to give some of these bands deposits. These are like real bands that like tour all year. So it's like they need deposits. They need to know exact dates that they need to fly in because they're not driving here. So it's almost a little impossible to book the fest right now. However, we are working on a way to get around that. I can't really say too much about it, but it'll be coming up soon, or at least announced within the next couple months, I would say. So yeah, I can't say too much about it, but we are figuring it out, and it will definitely happen for sure.
All right. So doing the fast and kind of like taking the reins from Evan and carrying on with it. What have you learned that you wouldn't have learned in tattooing?
I've learned that promoting a show and putting it on is extremely stressful and super hard, and way more than I thought that it would ever be, to be completely honest. It's kind of one of those things where we were talking about earlier about friendly competition, and like, I don't know if this is like my own thing in my brain, but I'll see a fest like This Is Hardcore, Sound and Fury, and I'll be like, well, that's not really an impossible task. Like, really, they got some funding and they're flying in bands. And I'm like, okay, we could easily do that. It's not so easy, but we are doing it, like, yeah, it's definitely not easy at all. Like, there's a whole team behind Wild Rose. There's 4 of us that kind of do this all year. So it takes like a whole team of people. It takes it takes a lot of organization and a lot of like know-how. So I'm really stoked on the team that we have, and I don't know, we're just trying to figure it out, man, straight up.
So how do you balance it all though? Like, you've got the fest that you're doing, and it's like, I also want to say, like, let's say that, okay, This Is Hardcore, shout out Joe, but say This Is Hardcore. It's like, yeah, Philly, you got a bunch of like major cities within just a few hour drives, right? It's like a hub city, easy to fly in to, easy to fly out of. That's a big difference than booking something in Calgary, Alberta, which is certainly easy to fly into, and it's definitely a hub city for Canada and say, like, probably North America. It's got a lot of traffic to it, but it's like every other major city is like very far away and don't necessarily have like major headlining bands. Like, this is a way more daunting task. At least it seems more daunting than me. I don't want to diminish the efforts of anyone else's fest. I don't know how you guys do it and are keeping your steam, especially as you're gearing up for this next piece. So like, how do you even keep forward momentum?
Yeah, it was a little bit hard to keep the momentum going with COVID and stuff, just because it seemed like it wasn't going to happen for forever, But to be honest, the reason why the fest is even a thing in the first place is because we all want to keep Evan's, I guess, legacy alive. Like, he really did build the fest, and he really had like really high expectations for it. Like, he really wanted it to be a thing, and I know that he had like the 10-year vision as well. So it's super sad that he didn't actually get to see that out, because I know he probably would have done a much better job than we did. But literally, the fest exists still because of Evan.
That's cool. It's touching. And I know it's going to have a great return. I'm completely confident in it. All right, let's go back to tattooing though.
Cool.
If you're thinking about tattooing, who are your inspirations today? Modern day. Who do you look up to?
Oh man, there's a lot of tattooers that I really like. Style wise, I guess my favorite tattooers right now would be Horitoshi is probably my favorite. He's a Japanese tattooer. He does kind of like more bodysuit style stuff, which is my favorite type of tattooing because it takes so much time and dedication and hours. When I look at a bodysuit, it almost makes me tear up straight up, because I know how much effort it requires on both parties. So yeah, bodysuit tattooing is my favorite. Horitoshi is like one of the best. My other inspirations are Chris O'Donnell and Timothy Hoyer, are both really good illustrators and super good tattooers. I really like Stace Ferrand. He's a tattooer in Vancouver, and he does all the album art for Trench and stuff. He does a different style, more on the anime kind of Japanese side, but that's like my favorite shit too. So Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of tattooers that I looked up to, at least artistically. So I don't know very many of these people though. So sometimes that can weigh on it as well.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I if I think of musicians and even business people, sometimes my worst experiences are when I look up to someone and then I actually meet them. I'm like, oh God, that was terrible.
100%. That happens a lot in
Yeah.
tattooing, unfortunately, and music, and really any kind of art. But yeah, I try not to look too far because sometimes it's disappointing.
It is. And then also you get rewarded. Like my experience with 7 Seconds and spending time with them was like 7 Seconds were like my favorite band growing up and still are one of my favorite bands and coolest group of people I've ever been on the road with.
That's awesome.
Most real, actual punk hardcore people that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
All right, man. So as we're starting to wrap up, tell us what's next for you as an artist, as a singer in Trench, and then also around Wild Rose. What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah. As an artist, I'm really just going to kind of keep doing my thing. Tattooing is something that, kind of like I said before, you never really stop learning stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of on a new adventure right now in my new shop. So I'm just going to try and soak up as much there as I can. Maybe in the future I can do a bit of traveling and do some more guest spots and conventions and kind of just keep it going with the tattoo stuff. I really want to branch out and do some other extracurricular art, like just some painting, even like some oil painting. I've got another project that has to do with like pouring resin and stuff that I'm trying to do right now too. So I got lots of shit going on with art. So I'm just trying to figure that stuff out right now. So I'm not sure what's next, but something cool will come up, I'm sure. Trench has a new record coming out in the first half of this year, so that'll be really exciting. I'm excited for people to hear that. Hopefully we can...
Is it an EP or a full length?
It is an EP, yeah.
And what's it called?
It's called Encased in Chrome.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And what label is it on?
That'll be out on New Damage Records.
Okay. Cool,
yeah.
Cool. And then what's up with Wild Rose? You're going to do an announcement in the next couple months?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be in the next couple of months. Wild Rose will definitely happen a little later in the year than it's supposed to this year, just because of Omicron and all the restrictions and stuff. So hopefully we can announce something in the next few months. But yeah, Wild Rose will be happening this year in some capacity. We're just trying to get around a little bit of the restriction stuff and kind of just strategize for that right now. So yeah, expect something soon.
Okay, cool. So I've got 3 questions as we're closing off.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, what's your advice for young tattoo artists who are hoping to break into the industry?
Yeah, young people trying to break in. Like, are you talking about someone who wants an apprenticeship or people that are already in it?
Give us a piece of advice for each.
Okay. Yeah, advice for people wanting to tattoo, people who are seeking an apprenticeship, is just to work on your drawing. Drawing is the most important part when it comes to start tattooing. Nobody's going to want to get tattooed by you if you are bad at drawing. Seeking out criticism and just practicing every day is something that you're going to need to get used to. As a tattooer, you're going to have homework for the rest of your life, so you might as well start now. Just getting the practicing for the drawing in. A young person in tattooing, my advice would just to be really nice to your clients, because that's the way that they come back. Don't treat your clients bad, because that's the ultimate way to not be busy. So.
All right. Second question for you. What are your top 3 hardcore bands, period, of all time? Top 3.
Top 3 hardcore bands. My favorite hardcore band of all time is Terror. That was my that was my intro band. That was the first like real hardcore band. One with the Underdogs is like always on repeat for me. I love Terror. My second favorite hardcore band might be Iron Age, just because it has a lot of metallic stuff to it that I really like. It's Constant Struggle and The Sleeping Eye have been on repeat for like 10 years for me. So, well, I guess not quite 10 years, but maybe 5 years. You know, I listen to them all the time. What would be the third one? Maybe Madball, just nostalgically, like, you know, hearing those records for the first time, thinking that was like actually the hardest shit I've ever heard in my life. So I don't know. Yeah, I think those 3 are probably my top 3 for sure.
Dude, those are three very, very good answers. And shout out to all three bands. Lots of good people involved in them. All right, man. Last question. This is the hardest question I'm ever going to ask you.
Okay.
I promise you, I will not hold you to it, and nobody else listening should. Best band from Calgary of all time.
Best band from Calgary of all time.
And it could be across any genre.
Oh, God. Can I say two?
You can say two.
Can I do an old one and a current one?
Absolutely. You totally can.
So the best old Calgary band was Nikola Tesla by far.
Okay.
Just because that, like, nostalgically, that was my first show. And I went to every single Nikola Tesla show after that first show. I immediately got obsessed with, like, how weird and violent it was. So that's my favorite older band from Calgary, from when I was like 15. The best current band from Calgary, unbiasedly, not my own. I'm gonna say Serration is the best band from Calgary right now, just because I think it's super unique, and I don't know, it's so mean and it's actually like terrifying music. So, and that's something that I really like. So,
hell yeah, awesome, man. Okay, great. So, for people listening, where can they find you, your artwork, your band? Where can they look you up?
Just all on Instagram, really. My Instagram is just my name, Jay Breen Tattooer. You could find Trench on Instagram as well, and you can also follow Wild Rose Hardcore Fest there. Just search the name.
Hell yeah. Listen, Jay, it was awesome talking to you. Like, this is a great interview. Thank you so much. And like, what I like is like, you're tight with your answers, you know, like you don't like go on and on and on, but every single answer had something of a lot of value, and I totally appreciate your time. So thanks so much for being on here.
Dude, no problem. Thank you. I've been a fan of yours musically since I was a teenager, and I really like your podcast. It was an honor, honestly. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah. Awesome. All right, everyone, we'll see you in the outro. And Spencer, drop the beat.
What?